Imagine spending your whole life protecting humans from monsters, only to one day be betrayed by them, ungrateful, ugly, and worthless humans. As your last breath leaves your body, suddenly a goddess appears. She gives you a new life, reincarnating you into a 10-year-old child with immense power and the ability to charm every girl you meet, something that never happened to you before. In a distant past, when gods and magic ruled the world, there was a demon king named Leonis. Leonis heard troubling news. Another demon king had been defeated, and now 6 powerful heroes were on their way to challenge him. Leonis' undead army was locked in fierce battle with the humans when suddenly, a giant tree erupted from the ground. One of the heroes climbed the massive tree and unleashed an arrow into the sky. The arrow split into many beams of light, raining down on the battlefield, resurrecting the fallen warriors. Not long after, a mighty dragon joined the human side, launching a direct attack on Leonis' castle. As the humans drew closer, the giant tree began to move wildly, sending its long roots in every direction to attack. Leonis was ready to charge into battle, but his followers reminded him of the oath he made to the goddess of darkness. Now was not the time for him to die. Accepting this reality, Leonis finally laid down his staff and could only watch as his castle slowly crumbled. Though defeated, Leonis vowed that as the king of the undead, he would rise again in 1,000 years to reclaim everything that was rightfully his. Centuries passed, and we shift to another scene, where 2 beautiful girls are exploring ruins that had just surfaced due to a massive earthquake. They are checking to see if the ruins hide an empty lair. These 2 girls are Lycelia, a swordsman in training, and her servant, Regina. As they venture deeper into the ruins, Regina seems doubtful they'll find anything, but Lycelia assures her that empty creatures usually hide deep and out of sight underground. With the help of a special device to detect the presence of hollow creatures, they eventually found some strange statues and thought the place might be an ancient tomb. As they got closer to the door, the detection device they brought started beeping loudly. But oddly enough, the door was sealed with magic. Lycelia tried to read the writing on the door but had trouble understanding it. Meanwhile, Regina felt this would take a long time, so she decided to explore the area around the door on her own. As Lycelia continued trying to figure out the door, she accidentally touched it, and suddenly the door opened on its own. The room behind the door lit up instantly, revealing a large crystal in the center. The device they brought went out of control, buzzing loudly before it overloaded and broke. Lycelia stepped closer to the crystal and realized there was someone trapped inside it. We are then taken back 1,000 years into the past, where Leonis, the demon king, meets with the goddess of darkness, Rosalia. Rosalia reminded him of their agreement. 1,000 years later, they would return to the world, and at that time, a human worthy of receiving his power would appear. Leonis' task was to find them. Leonis begged Rosalia to stay with him, but Rosalia flew away into the darkness. Back to the present, Lycelia tried to break the crystal, but her attack didn't work. Her efforts disturbed the magic protecting the crystal, awakening Leonis, who was immediately confused about how Lycelia could enter a room that should have been secured by strong magic. However, the crystal shattered and unleashed a powerful explosion that sent Lycelia flying backward. As Leonis approached Lycelia, he was shocked to see not an adult but a child. Leonis, now seeing his own reflection, realized that he had been reincarnated as a child. He began to wonder if his spell had gone wrong and had brought him back to his younger self, from when he was still a hero. Lycelia, curious about why there was a child trapped inside the crystal, checked on him. Feeling a bit awkward, Leonis began to think that Lycelia was rather charming. Lycelia assumed the child might have amnesia and quickly promised to protect him. Leonis, who was once a mighty demon king, was surprised by the kindness shown to him. Strangely, Leonis found himself enjoying the attention before eventually passing out. When Leonis finally woke up, he found that Lycelia had already prepared food for him. However, after years of being undead, Leonis had lost his sense of taste. He was confused about why his body could faint from hunger, finding the situation quite embarrassing. Although he briefly considered punishing Lycelia for her overly familiar behavior, Leonis instead discovered that he still had his sense of taste. Relieved, Leonis accepted Lycelia's kindness, as she sincerely shared her meal with him. Lycelia then introduced herself as a student training to become a swordsman at the Holy Sword Academy. Curious about Leonis' identity, she asked for his name. Leonis calmly replied that he was Leonis Magnus. Hearing this, Lycelia found the name interesting, but instead of recognizing him from legend, she found the name cute and affectionately called him Leo. Leonis was shocked that his once famous name was no longer remembered, but beyond that, he wondered how he ended up trapped in those ruins. Lycelia speculated that perhaps Leonis had been captured by void creatures and imprisoned there. Leonis was confused because he didn't know what the void was, and it seemed like Lycelia didn't either. With surprise, Lycelia explained that the void were mysterious creatures that appeared around 64 years ago and have since become humanity's greatest threat. Meanwhile, in another part of the ruins, Regina was exploring alone. The detection device she carried began beeping, signaling that something was nearby, and suddenly, the crystals around her started to move. Quickly, Regina activated her holy sword and prepared to fight. At the same time, Lycelia continued explaining to Leo that there was still much they didn't understand about the void creatures. Leo tried to figure out what year it was now. However, with the calendar system having changed, Lycelia could only say that it was year 64 of this new era. Suddenly, a loud explosion echoed, and Regina swiftly reported that a giant void creature had appeared. Without hesitation, Lycelia jumped toward Leo to shield him from the flying debris. Shortly after that, the wall collapsed, and a large void creature resembling a giant burst in with terrifying force. Lycelia tried to attack it with her weapon, but the strike had no effect. As the situation grew more dangerous, Leo stepped forward, but unfortunately, he tripped over his own cloak. His small new body made him unaccustomed to moving with agility. The void creature drew closer, preparing to attack. However, before it could strike, it was blasted by Regina, who had just arrived at the scene. Regina looked at Leo with curiosity, not knowing who this child was. But Lycelia quickly interrupted, saying they would discuss it later. The void creature, though hit by the attack, began to rise again. Not wanting to take any chances, Regina quickly transformed her weapon into a giant cannon, firing a large shot directly at the monster's chest. The explosion hit the void creature hard, but Lycelia remained alert, ready to strike if needed. Despite Regina's powerful attack, Leo was stunned to see the creature still standing. He began to realize that Regina's strength was on par with high-level magic, something not to be underestimated. In a firm voice, Regina told Lycelia and Leo to run while she handled the monster. Lycelia hesitated for a moment, not wanting to leave Regina alone to fight the giant void creature. However, for Leo's safety, she agreed and began running with him away from the battle. As they ran, Leo kept thinking about how everything seemed to be falling apart. The plan he had in mind seemed to have turned against him. For a moment, Leo considered turning back and facing the void monster himself, but he ultimately decided to stay with Lycelia. Lycelia urged Leo to focus on learning more about this current world, a world clearly different from what Leo remembered. However, before they could escape danger, another void monster appeared, blocking their path. Lycelia reacted immediately, telling Leo to run while she held off the monster. But Leo felt tempted to show his true power, eager to destroy the creature in one strike. As Leo prepared to cast a spell, Lycelia quickly pushed him aside, taking a hard hit from the monster. Lycelia's body was thrown to the ground, badly injured and bleeding. Despite her condition, Lycelia was more concerned about Leo's safety, apologizing for not being able to protect him and urging him to run. As Leo tried to make sense of the situation, more void monsters appeared, surrounding him. The creatures attacked, but suddenly, a magical barrier appeared around Leo, protecting him. Sensing the moment had come, Leo summoned his magic staff. In an instant, he unleashed a powerful gravity spell, crushing one monster in a single strike. Not stopping there, Leo then hurled a large fireball, easily incinerating two more creatures. However, Leo was shocked to see the monster's bones remain intact. He quickly realized that while his power was still great, it was only a fraction of what he had when he was the Demon King. Silently, Leo typically didn't think much of humans, but this time he was impressed by Lycelia's bravery and sacrifice. A sense of respect began to grow within him. Seeing Lycelia lying on the ground, Leo decided to save her. Using his magic, Leo revived Lycelia. During the process, strange symbols appeared on her body, indicating something beyond just resurrection. Meanwhile, Regina had finally defeated the void monster she was fighting and quickly tried to contact Lycelia. Leo, who previously had little interest in human technology, was now amazed by their advancements, marveling at how far humanity had come in the past 1,000 years. When Lycelia woke up, she immediately hugged Leo tightly, relieved that he was safe. Lycelia's reaction surprised Leo. He hadn't expected that Lycelia's biggest concern was him, not her own well-being. Leo felt confused by Lycelia's overwhelming care for him. Still in shock, Lycelia asked how she could still be alive after suffering such serious injuries. Casually, Leo replied that her wounds weren't too bad, and he had used a healing spell to save her. Lycelia furrowed her brow in confusion, then asked if Leo had used the power of the Holy Sword. Not fully understanding what Lycelia meant, Leo listened quietly as she explained. Lycelia told him that the Holy Sword was a special power developed by humans to fight the void creatures. Lycelia further explained that when the void creatures first appeared, some children were born with strange abilities. This became the basis for creating the Holy Swords, which are said to match the personality of the user. Lycelia admitted that she hadn't received her Holy Sword yet and was currently using magical tools to fight. Shortly after, Regina joined them, curious about the monster they had just faced. After they got out of that situation, Lycelia and Regina decided to take Leo back to the city with them. As they walked, Regina introduced herself, but noticed Leo staring at her. With a teasing tone, Regina started calling Leo playful nicknames. Lycelia, feeling annoyed, quickly told Regina to stop acting weird, but Regina continued to tease Leo, making Lycelia even more irritated. Leo, who was usually accustomed to respect, felt a bit annoyed at being made fun of by the girl. When they arrived in the city, Leo was amazed by what he saw. The city looked modern, filled with technology and structures Leo had never seen before. Lycelia then explained that this place was called the 7th Assault Garden, humanity's last stronghold against the void creature threat. Leo still couldn't believe that he was truly 1,000 years in the future. While Leo was still fascinated by this new world, the story shifted back 6 years ago, during a major attack on the 3rd Assault Garden by void creature forces. At that time, people were hiding inside a large house. There, a young Lycelia was seen holding Regina tightly. Regina looked terrified, trembling at the sounds of the battle outside. Lycelia, though also afraid, tried to comfort her friend. She assured Regina that her parents and the other knights had never lost a battle before. As the sounds of the fight grew closer, Lycelia confidently said that she would join the battle as soon as she was blessed with her holy sword. The sounds of the battle grew louder. Lycelia, eager to go out and help her family, tried to move, but Regina quickly stopped her. Although both wanted to help, the situation outside was too dangerous. Not long after, they were finally rescued. But terrible news hit them. All the holy knights had fallen. Lycelia's parents were among the casualties. Lycelia fell to her knees, and together with Regina, they cried in deep sorrow over their loss. Back in the present, Leo pondered whether the entire island was actually a giant fortress. Casually, Regina informed him that the island was not just a fortress but also a city where people lived and defended themselves. Leo was even more amazed to learn that the island was actually moving. Meanwhile, Lycelia contacted her superior and informed them that they were bringing a boy who she believed had awakened a holy sword. They assumed that the holy sword had been used to heal the boy's wounds, though Leo knew that wasn't the case. Lycelia told Leo that from now on, he would stay with them at Excalibur Academy, where holy sword wielders are trained to become great warriors. Regina then excused herself to go shopping, while Lycelia stayed with Leo. Lycelia explained that Leo would have to pass the gate exam before he could enter the academy. Now alone, Leo decided to head to the bathroom. In his mind, Leo kept wondering how everything had gone so wrong from his original plan. How did he end up trapped in the body of a child like this? Leo then summoned his 2 old followers, Blackus and Sherry, from the shadows. When they appeared, both were shocked to see Leo's current form. Even Sherry, in a teasing tone, mentioned that Leo looked cute. Leo explained that his reincarnation ritual didn't go as planned and brought him back in his old human form. Since becoming a hero, Leo felt his responsibilities had drastically changed. Leo then informed Blackus and Sherry that they were now on a man-made floating island called Assault Garden 7, and Leo suspected there were 6 other similar islands. Leo also noticed that humans had changed a lot since the old days. They used to be much weaker. Leo ordered Blackus and Sherry to observe the island discreetly without using magic, while he would disguise himself as a regular human at the academy. When the exam began, Leo was faced with controls and monitors he didn't understand. He learned that he had to carefully manage his mana levels if he wanted to pass this test. Tension rose when suddenly an alarm went off. Leo quickly grabbed his ID card and tried to leave. However, Lycelia suddenly appeared and took the card from him. She needed a photo of Leo to set up the test that would determine the nature of his holy sword, and Lycelia decided to hold onto the card for the time being. As they finally headed to the academy together, Leo couldn't hide his surprise at how calm and peaceful the island was. Lycelia explained that the island had never been attacked by void creatures, which was why everything felt so serene and peaceful here. As they walked through the academy, Leo noticed a ballroom and was confused. Why is there a place like that? Shouldn't they just focus on military training? He wondered. Lycelia smiled and explained, actually, doing fun activities like dancing helps the students perform better in their training. Later, Lycelia took Leo to the training grounds where he would undergo a test to determine if he possessed a holy sword, known as the Sword Investigation. However, as they passed by the dormitories, Lycelia suddenly got a headache and complained that she needed to start training again in order to obtain her own holy sword. Just then, a boy named Musel and his gang appeared, blocking their way. Musel began teasing Lycelia, mocking her while looking at Leo as if he were still a child. The girls with Musel seemed to be under the control of his holy sword. With arrogance, Musel told Lycelia that she should join his group of girls. Of course, Lycelia refused the offer. Annoyed, Musel roughly pulled her hair. Seeing that, Leo couldn't hold back his anger. He quickly used a spell to make Musel kneel before him. Leo warned Musel to leave Lycelia alone immediately. But Musel wasn't having it. He drew his holy weapon, ready for a fight. Before they could start battling, a girl named Elfine appeared and stopped the fight. "I'll report you to the school if you keep causing trouble," she threatened. Reluctantly, Musel backed off, and it was revealed that Elfine was part of the same platoon as Lycelia. Lycelia introduced Leo to Elfine, who then explained that she couldn't join their last mission because she was busy investigating strange magical signals they had detected on the island. Elfine also mentioned that a special team would be investigating it further. After that, they headed to Hazard Dormitory, an old and rundown building where Lycelia's team lived. At this academy, dormitories were assigned based on performance. The better the performance, the nicer the dorm. Leselia took Leo upstairs, and Leo asked if he could stay in the girls' dormitory. Leselia chuckled and allowed it because Leo was just a child. She showed Leo the bathroom so he could take a bath. Leo was amazed by the presence of hot water, something he had never experienced before. While Leo was enjoying his hot bath, Leselia suddenly came in and started helping him bathe. She then said that Leo could join any team he wanted, but she honestly admitted she would be really happy if he joined hers. Leo was curious. Why are you so eager to fight, even though you don't have a holy sword yet? Before Leselia could answer, she suddenly fainted. Quickly, Leo used a special mark on his body to save her, even giving her his own blood by biting her neck to help her recover. When Leselia regained consciousness, she was shocked and confused about what Leo had done. Leo calmly explained, "You weren't just healed. You were actually dead earlier." 2 years ago, Leselia was in an intense training session against several combat robots. She struggled, but suddenly Musel appeared, trying to convince her to join his team. "No need to fight alone, just join us," he said casually. However, before Leselia could respond, Regina arrived, making Musel back off with a frightened expression. Regina firmly said, "Once you get your holy sword, dealing with people like Musel will be easy." Leselia then explained to Regina that the reason she wanted a holy sword wasn't just for power. There was something deeper behind it. Back in the present, Leselia woke up. Leo finally decided to be honest with her. "Actually, I'm an ancient sorcerer who's been revived," Leo said, looking serious. Leo explained that when he revived Leselia, he accidentally turned her into a vampire. That's why she had to drink his blood, to restore her magical energy, or mana. Upon hearing that, Leselia told him about the void creature attack that destroyed her village, leaving both her and Regina as orphans. The Excalibur Academy took them both in, and since then, Leselia had been taking on dangerous missions, hoping to awaken her own holy sword. "Can I still get a holy sword now that I'm a vampire?" she asked hopefully. Leo wasn't sure, but he reassured Leselia by saying she was probably stronger now than before. Suddenly, Leo's stomach growled loudly, making him feel awkward. It had been a long time since he'd been used to feeling hungry. In the cafeteria, Leo tried to buy food with the gold coins he still thought had value, but he was shocked to find out that the island only accepted credits, and his gold was worthless. Leo realized that all the money he had collected in the past was now completely useless. Nearby, there were some thugs harassing a girl, forcing her to pay off her debt. When the girl asked for more time, the thugs started to get rough. But casually, the girl pulled out a wooden sword and managed to scare them off. This girl was Sakuya, a member of Leselia's team. Sakuya apologized for not joining the exploration mission. "Sorry, I was busy gambling after class," she said without a care. Sakuya had also heard about Leo from Elfine, and Leo quickly realized that Sakuya was highly skilled with the sword, even though it was just wooden. Leselia decided to buy lunch for everyone, and during that time, Leo noticed Sakuya wearing unusual clothing. "Hey, where's that outfit from?" he asked curiously. Sakuya explained that the clothes were from her hometown, which had been destroyed by a void attack, and she had vowed to wipe out all those creatures. It turns out, Sakuya also had a gambling habit. Suddenly, two girls came over, demanding the debt that Sakuya had borrowed. However, Sakuya quickly tried to distract them. After lunch, they all headed to the training area, where a woman named Alto was in charge of Leo's holy sword test. Leo pulled out his staff and said, "This is just a backup weapon." Everyone was shocked when Leo easily destroyed 3 robots designed to simulate void creatures. Alto, looking impressed, said they would need to run more tests. Suddenly, Musel appeared and issued a challenge. "Why don't you prove your strength by fighting me?" They agreed to duel. However, when Leselia saw Musel's team getting ready to fight, she immediately insisted on helping Leo. Musel agreed, but on the condition that Leselia had to join his team. Leo boldly accepted the challenge and bet that if they won, Musel would have to leave Leselia alone forever. The fight began under Alto's supervision. Leselia quickly defeated several members of Musel's team. In the middle of the fight, another girl from Musel's group tried to attack Leo, but he managed to stop her with a shadow spell. Regina, who arrived late, rushed to the training area and was shocked to see the ongoing battle. Leselia continued to fight against Musel's team with determination. However, when Leselia finally faced Musel, he used his sword's power to bind her and disarm her. Musel then immediately chased after Leo. That's when Leselia's desire to protect Leo awakened her holy sword. Leselia managed to break free from Musel's spell and launched an attack, slicing Musel's sword in half. With his sword destroyed, Musel lost control over his team, and the girls began to regain their senses. Musel conceded defeat, and Regina ran to hug Leselia while everyone cheered to celebrate their victory. After returning to the dormitory, Leselia felt very grateful to Leo for his help. "I promise I will protect you as my ally," she said sincerely. However, Leselia also asked Leo for help to become stronger. That night, the team held a festive party to celebrate Leselia's victory and welcome Leo into their group. In the midst of the celebration, they debated who should be Leo's roommate. In the end, Leo chose to stay with Leselia since she was the one who found him first. After that, Leo was in Elfine's room, signing up for the Academy network. Elfine began to tell stories about her past as a fighter in her old team, but now she only worked as a data analyst because she had lost her powers after witnessing the deaths of her friends in the battle against the Void. Leo began to register and borrowed power from Elfine. He opened Elfine's tablet and started checking the world map. Memories of the past emerged, reminding Leo that the Void creatures seemed to always appear in places where major battles had previously occurred. Suddenly, Blackus emerged from Leo's shadows and reminded him that the entire city was currently relying on a giant mana crystal known as the power generator. Not long after, Sherry came and told Leo that she and the war he was involved in had been forgotten by many, which Leo found very strange. Meanwhile, beneath the water's surface around the island, several divers were searching for signs of the Void outbreak. However, they were suddenly attacked by tree-like creatures calling Leo's name. We jump back to the year 432, where we see young Leo, known as the Holy Sword Hero, trying to defeat some gargoyles that had been scaring the townspeople. His guide praised Leo as a very good person for bravely facing these monsters while 6 other heroes were busy guarding the Imperial City. However, when they arrived at the place where the monsters were supposed to be, Leo realized it was all just a trap. Suddenly, a group of soldiers appeared and surrounded him, chaining his body. They stabbed him with spears, planning to leave him to die, saying that Leo would no longer be a problem for their master. As Leo lay dying, the dark goddess, Rosalia, appeared and showed herself. Rosalia asked Leo if he hated those who betrayed him, but Leo replied that he didn't think they were truly evil. Rosalia then tried to persuade Leo to join her side, saying she had always been interested in him and wanted Leo to fight against the world alongside her. Rosalia even said she liked him and wanted him to be with her. However, suddenly, Leo woke up from this strange dream. Leo remembered his mission to rebuild his demon army and used a special magic mark to awaken Lycelia from her sleep. Leo told Lycelia that with this mark, he could control his followers. Lycelia looked worried and asked if Leo might force her to do bad things, but Leo assured her he wouldn't do such a thing. Leo also reminded Lycelia that although she was bloodthirsty at night, she should at least ask for permission before biting him. Shortly after, Lycelia received a call from Elfine, who informed her that there would be a major strategy meeting on their day off. Elfine promised to tell Lycelia more once she knew. Lycelia then asked Leo to train her, and Leo said she looked full of energy after drinking his blood. At the command center, a group of leaders and director officials, including Castoros, were discussing the loss of contact with their marine team. They noted that they detected void activity for 3 seconds before everything went silent again, which was strange for a void attack. They saw some blurry images of strange creatures and wondered if it was a new species of void entity that looked like a tree or perhaps a powerful void lord. The discussion continued about how this resembled the Great Void and how well they had defended themselves since then. As they sought a way to handle the situation, Castoros received a call from the commander, who ordered them to double-check the situation. Gillian, the division commander, said he would assemble the best team of warriors to investigate, and promised that nothing bad would happen to the island. Meanwhile, at the training grounds, Lycelia was already showing rapid progress. She was able to defeat the training robots quickly, and Leo, wanting to challenge her further, decided to set up a magical barrier around the area. Not only that, he also summoned a group of low-level skeletons for Lycelia to face. After battling them, Lycelia was exhausted. As a thank you for the training, Lycelia offered to buy Leo a meal. However, despite his stomach growling, Leo seemed hesitant to eat the food she offered. On the other side of the island, a second group was attempting to locate a void lord hiding underwater. Meanwhile, back at the dormitory, Sakuya saw Blackus sitting outside and thought he looked very cute. Sakuya even tied some food around Blackus's neck for later. Regina entered Elfine's room, bringing some new candies to try. Sakuya joined them and talked about the dogs she found outside. Sakuya then asked why Elfine was still wearing her uniform, and Elfine explained that she was on duty with the scouting team. Meanwhile, Lycelia and Leo were driving around the city in their vehicle. Leo couldn't hide his amazement at all the things humans had built. In the kitchen, we see Sherry working hard to earn money for Leo. Sherry was cutting potatoes, but unfortunately, she also ended up cutting the bowl. The chef then assigned her to sweep outside as a punishment. Just as she was about to start her task, Sherry saw Lycelia and Leo arriving and quickly hid behind the door. Lycelia bought some donuts for someone, and Sherry was curious about where they were going. They eventually arrived at a place called Sunny Spot, a restaurant. Outside, a group of children ran up to greet Lycelia cheerfully. It turned out these children were orphans who lived at the restaurant, and Lycelia sometimes helped take care of them. Leo was reminded of his past as an orphan, though his life had been very different. Inside the restaurant, a child named Dean tried to prank Lycelia by lifting her skirt, and Leo attempted to catch him. However, Lycelia casually told Leo not to take it too seriously. They then joined the restaurant owner, Miss Frenia, and Lycelia introduced Leo to her. Lycelia told her that she brought donuts and vegetables for them, and that she would cook dinner tonight. Leo realized that this was a place Lycelia was deeply committed to protecting. He began to wonder if there was something in his own life that he also wanted to protect. Meanwhile, in the control room, Alphine sensed a strange vibration on the radar coming from beneath the city. Sakuya voiced a bad feeling about it. In the city's storage area, workers inspecting food supplies were shocked to see tree roots starting to grow inside the room. Then we returned to the year 428, where a city was under attack by terrifying monsters. On the city walls, 3 heroes, including a 12-year-old Leo, stood watching the monsters approach with pounding hearts. Tiras, one of the heroes, expressed impatience as they waited for the arrival of the other heroes. Meanwhile, Arakiel, the oldest among them, had already planned to destroy all the monsters and people in the city. Arakiel chanted a spell that could burn all living things around him, telling Tiras to revive everyone afterward. But Leo, hearing this, clearly disagreed with his plan. With great determination, he drew his sword and cut through Arakiel's spell, declaring that he rejected the idea of killing and reviving everyone. Without hesitation, Leo jumped down from the wall and faced the monsters alone, fighting fiercely and managing to defeat them all. Cheers erupted from the crowd, filled with admiration. However, Arakiel warned Leo that the power he held might one day backfire and lead to his downfall. Back in the present, in the control room, they received shocking news that the underwater creature had disappeared. Castoros speculated that it might be a void creature capable of disappearing easily. However, Jillian thought otherwise. Jillian believed the creature might have crystallized and suggested they destroy it quickly before it was too late. Before they could plan their next move, they were informed that a sacred swordsman from the 18th century, a member of the platoon, wanted to share some findings with them. Initially, the military advisors seemed indifferent to what the student had to say. However, the atmosphere shifted when they learned that the student came from the Fillet family, and all attention immediately turned to him. Suddenly, Alphine appeared on the screen and explained that the void had seeped into the underground areas of the island, disrupting the existing network. Everyone in the control room was shocked to hear this, and the staff quickly confirmed that strange sounds had been reported from Block 59. Even more suspiciously, the void seemed to be moving, suggesting that something unusual was happening. Alphine suspected that the void might be trying to infiltrate deeper into the city in a very stealthy manner. Some argued that the void creatures couldn't possibly be this intelligent. However, a new report from the storage department arrived with startling news. Thick roots were growing in one of the warehouses. Regina, in a panic, tried to call Lycelia, but unfortunately, she couldn't get through. Alphine, not standing idle, decided to send a drone to the sunny spot where Lycelia and Leo were relaxing with the children. Meanwhile, in the storage area, several soldiers encountered a void creature, but it managed to escape, leaving everyone bewildered. Alphine quickly informed them that the void was heading toward the power plant through the electrical lines. If the creature reached it, it could absorb massive amounts of energy and trigger a large-scale monster invasion. Shortly afterward, the void arrived at the power plant and began clashing with the security system. At the same time, Castoros, the executive director, issued an order to activate fortress mode on the island, instructing everyone to evacuate to the shelters immediately. Eventually, the void reached the mana crystal within the plant, causing a surge of monsters to emerge, adding to the chaos. In the control room, the leaders prepared for a prolonged battle, realizing they had to hold out for at least 3 days until reinforcements arrived from the capital. Leo and Lycelia quickly assessed the situation and took immediate action. Leo instructed Sherry to keep Lycelia's friends safe and help move the children to a safer location. As the monsters began flying closer, Leo joined Lycelia, who was already prepared to fight. In an instant, Lycelia skillfully sliced through 2 monsters, while Leo unleashed fire magic to burn the rest. Suddenly, 3 large ogre-class void creatures appeared around them. The rest of their team was already in position. Sakuya calmly took them down one by one, and Regina used her cannon to handle the remaining monsters. They managed to clear out all the surrounding monsters, but nerves began to rise as a large void-class hydra appeared, followed by a void-class dragon descending from the sky. Leo saw the dragon and couldn't hold back a laugh, commenting on how even a great dragon could transform into a void creature. Feeling compelled to face the dragon alone, Leo asked Lycelia to protect him while he prepared a powerful spell. Leo used an impressive level 10 spell to try to destroy the dragon. However, instead of dying, the dragon crashed down near them, heightening the tension in an already critical situation. As it landed, the dragon unleashed a burst of flames that knocked Lycelia down. However, Blackas emerged from the shadows to provide assistance, giving Leo just enough time to cast another spell. With great effort, Blackas managed to hold the dragon back long enough for Leo to finish his spell and finally defeat the dangerous creature. But before they could celebrate, the ground began to tremble violently, and a massive crack appeared. Thick branches shot out, grabbing Lycelia and pulling her underground. Leo ran toward the gap, but more branches blocked his path. The branches twisted and formed a figure that called out Leo's name. It was then that Leo realized it was Arakiel, his old enemy, re-emerging from the darkness. Flashing back to the year 434, in the undead city of Necrosa, Leo returned to his castle after a grueling battle. There, Rosalia, the goddess of darkness, was waiting for him. It was clear that Leo had now transformed into an undead, with half of his face resembling a skull. Leo informed Rosalia that he had won the fight against a tough opponent and offered her the treasure he had taken. However, Rosalia told him to keep it for now. Rosalia praised him, and Leo then mentioned that he had a new friend named Blackus, a prince from the Shadow Kingdom. They had helped each other deal with issues in Blackus's kingdom, and in return, Leo learned some spells from him. Rosalia decided to give Leo a special gift, a sacred sword that she once possessed when she was still a hero. She explained that the sword no longer suited her, so she transformed it into a demon's sword before handing it over to Leo, emphasizing that there were special rules for its use that Leo was already aware of. Back in the present, Leo is now a demon. He and Arakiel face off. Arakiel tries to summon more void creatures, but Leo quickly stops him with fire magic, forcing Arakiel to retreat underground. Leo checks his special mark and feels relieved to see that Lycelia is still alive. The mark hasn't faded. Leo vows to defeat Arakiel for good this time. Suddenly, Blackus appears from the shadows, and they discuss how Arakiel could still be alive. They wonder if Rosalia might still be in this world. Leo casts a spell to send some of his soldiers to guard the children, while he rushes to rescue Lycelia. Blackus, hearing a faint noise nearby, finds Lycelia's communication device lying on the ground. Elfine calls out to Lycelia, asking her to help them fight a Hydra-class void as they need more strength. Leo responds, explaining that Lycelia has been captured by the void, and he asks Elfine to use her sacred sword's tracking ability to locate Lycelia so they can rescue her. Elfine warns him that it's dangerous and suggests that Leo wait for additional help. However, Leo insists that they don't have time to wait. Seeing the destruction Leo caused, Elfine finally decides to trust him. Leo uses his sword to locate Lycelia and quickly learns that she is at the power plant. Without wasting time, Leo and Blackus rush off to rescue her. Meanwhile, Elfine successfully dodges attacks from the Hydra, and Sherry appears to help, swiftly defeating the Hydra without revealing herself. Everyone around is stunned, confused by what just happened. On the other side, Leo rides Blackus toward the power plant. Blackus, curious, asks why Leo is so determined to help humans. Leo admits that he has started to care about them. They break into the plant, and Leo immediately attacks Arakiel with a fire spell. However, Arakiel seems unaffected thanks to his super-fast healing ability. Arakiel tells Leo that he should have died 2,000 years ago. Calmly, Leo responds that he didn't truly die, just hid his soul. Arakiel continues, talking about how the world has changed and how he plans to rebuild it. But Leo doesn't quite understand what Arakiel is talking about. At that moment, faces appear among the branches, and Leo realizes that Arakiel has merged with the priests of the Holy Order. Meanwhile, deep underground, Lycelia is bound by strong branches. As they attack her, she feels her mana draining too quickly, suspecting Arakiel as the culprit. The situation worsens as all the merged faces begin attacking at once. Leo understands that the only way to win is to find Lycelia and wake her up. He then coats the voice tunnel with his blood and begins searching for Lycelia. Lycelia's desire to protect everyone causes thorns to emerge from her blood, breaking some of the branches holding her. Leo quickly locates Lycelia and shoots a listening device toward her. The device pierces her, awakening her vampire powers. Finally, Lycelia frees herself and reunites with Leo, while Blackus disappears to recover. Lycelia, confused, asks Leo what he did, and Leo replies that he gave her some of his blood. Now, they prepare to face Arakiel, who starts casting several level 10 spells that could cause massive destruction. Leo asks Lycelia to defend him, while he goes after Arakiel. Lycelia fights off the monsters with her blood magic, while Leo draws his demon sword, Dainsleif. The sword can only be used to protect Leo's kingdom. Leo then declares the 7th Strike Garden as his kingdom, making everyone there his subjects, and vows to protect them. Blackus is shocked to see how well the sword suits Leo. Arakiel, in a dismissive tone, claims that it's impossible to change the fate of the world, but Leo is determined to prove him wrong. With a powerful sword strike, Leo finally defeats Arakiel. Once Arakiel is gone, the void creatures that had been causing trouble stop appearing, and those remaining start to vanish. In the control room, everyone is stunned to see that they managed to stop the invasion, guessing that the void's ruler may have been destroyed by the explosion at the power plant. Meanwhile, Leo and Lycelia land safely and are greeted by their team, who rejoice that everyone made it out alive. Back at the dorm, Leo is curled up on his bed when Lycelia walks in, carrying a plate of sandwiches and a handmade medal from the kids in the sunny place. In a nervous tone, Lycelia asks if she can get a bit of Leo's blood. Without hesitation, Leo offers his finger. As Lycelia leans in, a few of their friends suddenly enter the room, creating an awkward moment. Lycelia tries to explain what's happening, but no one really believes her. After the major attack on the 7th Strike Garden, the city is now in the process of rebuilding. With the power plant damage, they're replacing the city's mana supply with solar panels that convert sunlight into energy. Curious about the land Leo now calls his kingdom, he tries to sneak into the vault holding ancient secrets. But when Leo arrives, the spirit guarding the gate stops him, stating that he needs permission from the administration to enter. Suddenly, Regina appears behind him and starts teasing Leo about what he's doing there. Leo tries to lie, saying he just wants to study some things about ancient languages so he can read the writings on the walls. But when they reach the ruins where Leo was found, Regina uses magic to open the vault door, letting them both inside. Inside the vault, Leo is amazed and asks how Regina could open the door so easily. Regina just brushes it off, calling it a magic trick, and asks Leo to keep it a secret. Suddenly, they both receive a message from the administration, inviting them and the entire team to a special ceremony hosted by Princess Alteria. Excited, Leo suggests that Regina head to the port first while he finishes exploring the vault. However, Regina decides that she doesn't want to attend the ceremony. In another part of the city, a group of demi-humans led by a black lion named Baki is planning to cause chaos during the ceremony with the intent of kidnapping the princess. They plan to use her as leverage to free their friends who are imprisoned in the capital, but their plans are interrupted by Sharnak, the witch of the Everdark Forest, who suggests they change their approach. Sharnak offers a demon sword that will give them a chance to fight against the entire world. However, Sharnak has no intention of attending the ceremony herself. She suggests they take over the ship and hold the princess hostage, and instructs them to capture some holy swordsmen for a ritual. The group agrees with the new plan. Back at the port, the princess waves to the crowd from the top of the ship, and Regina watches her from a distance. Leo, who has just rejoined the rest of the team, hands Lycelia a small keychain he bought for her. Lycelia beams and thanks him sincerely. As they approach the ship, they run into Fenris, Lycelia's childhood friend. Fenris starts teasing her, calling her team lazy, and soon the two are engaged in a lively debate. Elfine steps in to break it up, and before leaving, Fenris congratulates Lycelia on awakening her holy sword. Meanwhile, a group of demi-humans sneaks onto the ship from the sea-facing side, where security is the weakest. They disguise themselves as soldiers after defeating the real guards. On the deck, the team is having a good time, while Leo sits off to the side, reading some ancient documents he found in the vault. As he flips through the pages, he realizes that significant parts of history have been deliberately erased. Sherry appears excitedly and shares all the information she gathered about the ship. Leo thanks her and hands her a cho as a reward, but Sherry seems less than thrilled with it.